Good evening, everyone. Welcome to second session of our current affairs discussion. So I hope you have attended the first class. We have discussed yesterday two questions. As I told yesterday, the main objective of all these classes, content is one side, because we have seen in this year prelims, last year mains, a lot of questions has been taken directly from what is the most recent happening. That is what is happening in this gap between prelims and mains. What is happening in 2-3 months before or 4 months before this examination. A lot of questions are directly picked from newspapers, discussions related to this. So you should be aware of 10-12 topics we're discussing. Means these are in news at a quite length. That is not just one article, but a lot of articles has been published on these topics. That's why we are pinpointing these 12 topics. Beyond that, the fundamental agenda of all these sessions is all about how to structure answer writing, how to have a clear understanding on what to write on the paper. And I have seen a lot of students who make mistakes on this. If you're somebody who is making mistake on not correctly picking what exactly is the demand of the question, what exactly has to be the structure of the answer, where you should write more words, more points, more examples, so that you can gain more marks, where you should keep your answers to the minimum. So if you don't have this broad understanding, then whatever you learn, whatever knowledge you pick up, it's not going to be enough to clear this examination. So this is the background, or this is on this on this construct we are carrying out the discussion of these particular questions. So let's go for today's question, go through the first question, then we will have the discussion of yeah, let's read the question once. India's demographic transition towards an aging population is accelerating, creating profound challenges. So what it is, aging population and some challenges, that is aging population is accelerating and there is some challenges according to this. Such a statement is given. What is the question? Discuss the challenges posed by the increasing elderly population in India and suggest measures to address these challenges effectively. Again, this is a 15-mark question, so you'll be having 3 pages. But how many parts you will divide this question? Again, you can, if you have 3 pages, same, you can hardly divide this question into 3 parts. I'm excluding introduction and conclusion for the time being. One is the statement. You can address this either by introduction. You can make this introduction the something related to the statements itself. In this particular question, the statement is exactly what is asked also. There is, in some question, you will some deviance from what is given in the question and what exactly is asked. Sometimes issues will be highlighted in the statement and some way forward or measures to be taken, that will be asked in the question. In such questions, you can have a separate heading for the statement. Otherwise, you can make the statement, explanation of the statement, giving some substantiating data, arguments, or say some diagrams or examples in the introduction itself. The second 2 major part, we have made the circle, that is challenges and measures to be taken, that is in general way forward. Then you can have a conclusion. So this is the broad structure what the answer demands. Again, so what is the structure we have given? We have a statement. So you have to make an introduction based on the statement, mainly because there is no new ideas that is discussed in this particular statement. Then challenges. This will be one major part of your answer. Then you need measures to be taken. And then you can have a conclusion. Again, nothing more than 2 lines. 2 lines is maximum what you need. Here you can, if you include 5 plus points, that's great. Here if you can include 5 plus points, here 1 points. This will be the overall structure of this particular answer. So that is exactly what is given. here this introduction will be based on this particular statement. Then we have challenges, measures, and conclusion. So you should be very clear about this. It is 2 marker, 3 marks, complex question, easy question. This structure making, how much space you have to allocate for each of these. Where if you have written like a lot of statement on on this, if you have spent 1 page on this particular element, this is like futile exercise. I have seen students doing this mistake, where you can score marks if you written more challenges, where you can score mark if you written more measures. So focus on this part. The other part, which is the data or explanation for the particular statement, that is not the major part of your answer. You can give half a page of max to this and 2 lines to conclusion. Rest all your answer should be challenges and measures. So what is the data for aging population? We have already, you must be already knowing all this data of demographic dividend. You might have already seen this graph of India India is having an extended period of demographic dividend till 2061. All this is in news. Some report says that it is going to be earlier in 2050s itself. Then you can project this data from easy data. Again, this is a very little bit complex data we have presented here. You can go for much more easier data. That is, in 2011 census, we have around, say, 8.5% of our population in this above 60 category. 2021, we don't have a census, but by projected scores, we have roughly around 10% of the population. By 2050, this is going to be somewhere around 19.5%. So you are seeing an accelerated growth of dependency ratio or accelerated growth of elderly population. You can show this as a graph. You can show this in numbers, like India by 2021 had 138 million people aged 60 and above, nearly 10% of the population. It is projected to grow to, say, triple in size and become 19.5% of the total population by 2050. So this is somewhere a rough data of what is the aging population. This is what we are doing here, is we are substantiating the statement that is given. Now the second part, the challenges. Now again, yesterday's class also I have told you how to generate points. At least if you think directly, what are the challenges? You obviously know what are the challenges faced by elderly people or rising elderly population. And this is not something rocket science. I know every student who is writing mains will have some points to write. But how you can give a 1 step ahead? Think on different compartments. At least if you can make 3 or 4 compartments, the generation of points become a cakewalk. For example, think of 3 different sectors. You can take any particular sector. This is what comes to your mind. What is your comfort level? What is your knowledge level? Based on this, you can take any XYZ compartments. For this question, I need to think of different challenges posed by increasing elderly population. So what are the challenges? I am taking 3 stakeholders. One is the elderly people, that is the old age people. Second is the healthcare industry. Health is one of the most major aspect when you are getting older. It is something that is going to play a much greater role in public policy, in whatever it is. And third is, what should be the public policy, and what are the issues in these 3 different heads? What are the issues faced by elderly people, or you can say higher elderly people? Rise of chronic diseases, especially heart disease, diabetes, lifestyle problems. 75, if you remember some data, like 75% of elderly people have one or the other issues like heart disease or diabetes, something like that. Limitations to mobility, especially in much elder people of 80 plus age, they are already dependent on somebody to move to washrooms, bathing, for toilets, for going to XYZ, getting essentials, all this kind of mobility, they are depending on some persons. Financial insecurity. Roughly 30% of India's population is currently having access to any kind of pensions. So it is not, India is not a country with huge pension you can say penetration. So we have this financial insecurity, which lead to huge high dependence on children, on family. Somebody who's not the children is not there to take care of them, then there is more worries associated with these people relying on children for family for day-to-day activities as well as income. Then the psychological effects like social isolation and loneliness. We have different studies which consider aging as withdrawal from social activities. So these social activities, some people take it as a positive aspect of life, but for many people this is a tough phase. This is a phase of social isolation. You are not able to connect with the changes of the world. You might have seen a lot of elderly people who find it difficult to learn even using a smartphone, but the whole very small children will be easily using the smartphones. So what is a counter psychological effect of all of this? That is the isolation, the alienation which these elderly people find with the world around them. So these are some of the effects of rising elderly population. These issues is going to be aggravated by increasing elderly population. Now, what is the health effect on healthcare industry? We have seen a lot of problems of Indian healthcare industry during COVID times. We have inadequate infrastructure. We have inadequate number of doctors, healthcare professionals. We have lack of funding issues, in extreme lack of funding issues in rural areas. There is huge regional divide between urban and rural healthcare facilities. So what is the conclusion of all of this? We are not equipped to accommodate a huge influx of geriatric care demand. So this demand is going to be increased. You can cite some data. Already India has only 0.8 hospital beds per thousand population, which is far below the WHO recommendation of 5 beds per thousand population. Similarly, shortage of trained professionals on geriatric care, insufficient old age homes. Some HelpAge India has come up with the data. Thus, India is only having 728 old age homes for a population of 138 million people. So that's quite a very low number. And the old age homes are also considered as something that is quite bad or something that's of a bad culture in India. The industry itself is not growing, culturally accepted. So all these issues. Then regional divide, as I already told, underdeveloped mental health care services. There is absolutely no mental health services for geriatric people or elderly people. Then lack of preventive health care services. All these are in a very niche state of development in India. And we need these things. These are things which will be more and more in demand when India's population is shifting from current youth-based population to a more older population. So these are some of the issues you can face in the healthcare industry. On the other hand, in public policy sector, what is the issue? There is absolutely a legal gap. We already have a Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act, but the implementation of this act is completely lethargic manner. Different states have different versions of this, and the implementation is different according to different states. Some states like Assam, some northeastern states have took some measures to strictly enforce these, but a lot of other states are not really worried about it. Why they are not worried about it? But currently we are going through a phase of demographic dividend. We have huge amount of youth population, so our policies also will be more directed towards skill development, education, job opportunities development towards youth. But as the year goes, we need to make a strong shift towards these elderly care policies also. Lack of comprehensive age-friendly policies, demographic challenges of obviously this unattended elderly population can contribute to pushing back people into poverty, rising inequality, technological alienation, as we have already discussed, on smartphones, on digital mobile technologies, even these essential services like PDS are done through digital systems. And at times it is the elderly people or the most needy people who finds difficult to adapt to these changing systems. So these are some of the challenges faced by as a country or as an individual of aging population. Now, what is the thinking process? Think on 3 different terms. That is, think in terms of elderly, think in terms of healthcare industry, think in terms of public policy. Now, what is the solution? Whether in any question where there is challenges and solutions that is being asked, writing solutions is a quite cakewalk. Why? Because what you have to write, you have listed a lot of problems. What is the solution to the problems? That is, you need some kind of a universal pension schemes. We have this economic survey of, say, I think 2018 or so, which discussed about universal basic income. But before going into universal basic income, we can have a graded approach. For all people of, say, 60 plus or 70 plus age, there should be some kind of a universal pension scheme. Develop tailored insurance products for elderly needs, especially in unorganized sectors where the insurance penetration is quite low. Expand geriatric care unit in hospitals, regular health screenings, which is for aged people, increase mental health services for elderly specific issues like anxiety, like loneliness, like tension, like stress, which is specific to geriatric people. You need to provide care regarding this. Provide specialized training for caregivers in geriatric care. Similarly, technologies, how you can make technologies more friendly for elderly care, how you can bring assistive technology like mobility aids, smart home systems into make them more friendly towards elderly people. Launch financial digital literacy programs on retirement, on planning, on digital equipments or digital usages. Establish intergenerational support programs. Germany has one of the established systems of these intergenerational support programs where the play schools are taken care by elderly people. So they elderly people have some kind of engagement association that is going on in their life. Similarly, these young people can get some learnings, wisdom from interacting with this. Somebody of you at least might be aware of the Goodfellows app, which has been funded by Ratan Tata. What it also do is very similar activity. It connects younger people to the elderly. They can come book through this app and spend some time with the elderly people. So these kind of initiatives are quite, you can say, age sensitive, elderly sensitive policies. Implement age friendly public policies like accessible transportation, housing, budget provisions. Like we have gender budgeting, we need dedicated budget provisions for elderly people. Going ahead, a legal system, we need to update this act and you need to bring certain levels of uniformity throughout the country. So these are basically what is my thinking process. I have listed these problems here. I'm just thinking about different set of solutions which can be applied. What is the conclusion? Again, this is not, this is introduction statement itself. You can cite about constitutional articles. Again, yesterday we have discussed about right to equality under article 14 to 18. You can cite elderly care with article 42, 41, I guess, article 41, which speaks about people to take care of elderly, and similarly you can connect with article 21 also by citing some constitutional articles. You can write the conclusion and conclude this answer. Go ahead, go through the second question, then we will continue the discussion. Yeah, this is a little bit tough questions. On its prima facie it looks tough question, but quite easily doable. But I have already told you that even if question is tough, you should not make any mistake in the structure of the answer. So let's see how we are going to see this question. Analyze the shift from input based to outcome based approaches in India's social sector reforms. How can technology aid in transforming welfare delivery systems? So only confusing element is this input based to output based approaches. So what is different parts of the answer? Again, as introduction, you will be writing something about input to output. regarding this, you can cite some examples. What exactly is meant by this in social sectors? You can cite this. Second, the analyze is the keyword here. So, what are the benefits out of this shifting to output-based approaches? What are the challenges in shifting to these output-based approaches? Then you can reach a, say, mini concluding statement here. Then you can go for the next part of the answer, that is how technology can play a role. This will be your, say, third heading. After that, you can go for conclusion. This will be your overall answer. Now, where you can score marks: benefits, I need at least 5 points. Challenges, I need at least 5 points. Technology, how technology can aid this transformation, I need 5 points. Here I need 2 points. Here I need 1 point. So this will be my minimum expectation from you for this answer. 3 different major parts, that is benefits, challenges. We're doing some kind of analysis of this shift from input based approach to output based approach. Then how technology will help in proper implementation. Then a concluding remarks and introduction which speaks about input based to output based approaches. Whatever you make mistakes in all of this, but don't make mistakes in this structuring. If your answer is missing this analysis part, then you are going to mark huge mark you are going to lose. So don't make these kind of mistakes in answer writing. Yeah, so this is what is given here. You will have 5 different parts of the body. This is about this particular shift. Yeah, about this particular shift, then benefits, then challenges, then technology aiding, then conclusion. So what is this basically input based to output based services or approaches in India's social sector? This is basically speaking about DBT schemes, where either for earlier the focus was on how much money is allotted to Manrega. Now the focus is how much money is transferred to different accounts. Now the focus is not how much money the budget has been allocated, that is secondary. How much money directly has been transferred to the accounts of the people. There is how many people are benefited of this XYZ policy. There is where the judgment is going to happen. So this shift you have to speak here. Outcome based budgeting approaches we have adopted since 2018. Strategic outcome based initiatives like aspirational district programs. What is exactly aspirational district program? You might find, say, just a second. Say 10 years before, it will be very difficult to think of a scheme like aspirational district programs, because as such this scheme is not doing anything. What it do is it coordinates a lot of other already allocated funds or schemes, and it works the district towards a better realizing better outcomes, especially the lower hanging fruits has to be realized. Every district will have its own plan under this. So this is basically a scheme which combines the output, or you can say this coordinates all other schemes, all other funds, all other initiatives, and make them implement them in such a way that makes the best use of available resources. So this is basically aspirational district. If you look closely, there is absolutely no special fund that is allocated under this ADP program. Promotion of proactive role of private sector, like, just give me a second. Private sector, like mandating CSR and community participation in Company Acts 2013. So in all these you can see our focus is on what is the net impact. Our focus is not on What is the next expenditure? From expenditure based outlook, we are moving towards a impact, or you can say output based approach. In all of these government schemes, we are seeing this shift. So this shift, you can speak about these through these examples and make your introduction for this answer. You don't need to write all of this, because writing more examples in introduction does it not going to work. It is only for your understanding. I have put these all examples. You can use 2 or 3 examples and finalize your answer. Now the first major part of the answer, that is benefits that India is going to get out of this. Quite very easy. The focus is on efficiency. The focus is on how much is the funding done. The focus is on efficiency, because directly the outcome will be measured. So you need to be efficient in how the fund is being utilized. Reduce leakages. You can give some examples of DBT, like Economic Survey 2024 sites. We have made a, you can say, savings of rupees 1.78 lakh crore savings by doing certain schemes through DBT. Enhanced educational outcomes, like National Education Policy, where performance based, there was a scheme on this Institute of Eminence. In this Institute of Eminence, how the institutes were offered funding as well as autonomy. Those institutes which are performing better in NIRF rankings or performing better in other indicators, they will be given more funding and more autonomy, because they can produce more outcome. They are working with more efficiency. Similarly, healthcare and nutrition, Poshan Abhiyan, like education aspirational district program, another program which coordinates a lot of women-centric projects, that is the Poshan Abhiyan 2.0. Insurance expansion, like Ayushman Bharat scheme. Either earlier the focus was on government coming and directly providing the healthcare services. Now we are like appreciating the role of agency of this individual as well as the role of private sector as developmental partners, and government role is a little bit backseated to providing a umbrella insurance scheme for the people. Currently, as for latest data, 384.7 crore Ayushman Bharat cards have been generated, covering 55 crore individuals. This is more than 1/3 of the population. Participatory governance, like the Pragati portal, where we can register our grievances and government can directly look into these issues and get your grievances addressed. So these are some of the benefits we can see in shifting to the outcome based approaches. What are the challenges? Again, lack of political will, systematic resistance, especially at lower levels of government, state government, a lot of the tier governments find resistance to move into this kind of system, because here what is checked, that is accountability. There will be always a check on how you are spending the money, and governments doesn't want this to happen at all time. Cultural and institutional resistance, that is accountability gap we are speaking about. Justice issues with linking funds with performance. For example, the center has to distribute 1,000 crore educational fund. Now if you look, where is the best efficiency? Best efficiency is mostly in the states where educational infrastructure is well established. For example, if you simply given this funds based on efficiency, highest amount fund will flow to Kerala or some other states where we have very strong educational infrastructure. On the other hand, Jammu and Kashmir or Bihar or other states where educational facilities are lacking, where actually state funding is needed, there the efficiency is also low. So it is not always justice to link distribution of funds to the performance. Obviously, performance should be a criteria, but performance cannot be the sole criteria to be considered when distribution of fund for social sector schemes. Then lack of sensitivity to local demands. It's top-down approach. Sometimes these even aspirational district programs has been criticized for its top-down approach. we can see this panchayat and municipalities more and fund are given to this after the finance commission 16. But the problem is that more and more funds are tied nature funds. The municipalities or panchayat doesn't have the required freedom to decide what basis the fund to be utilized. Similarly, limitations in accounting outcomes. Some like Saubhagya scheme, which basically is about giving electricity to every households. It is the benefits of getting electricity. It is not just limited to giving access to power. It leads to better women's safety. It leads to better education of children. It leads to a lot of other social benefits. So you sometimes a lot of social benefits. You cannot bring it in this your outcome frameworks or outcome measurement systems. Lack of environmental sensitivity, so much of environmental services, especially if you are building a bridge, a lot of environmental aspects may not be taken into consideration or may not be accounted in monetary terms, which always plays a role in accounting what is exactly the outcome. Long-term interest sometimes may be compromised for short-term interest, like slum management. If you try to dislocate the slum and give them a proper, you can say the proper inhabitation facilities, then obviously that takes a long-term project. There are certain projects going on in Dharavi slums in Mumbai, taken up by some corporate groups, but there is strong resistance for this. There are people who are resisting this to happen, and these people speak about freebies. This is an easier way to get political mileage while thinking about rehabilitation of the slums. That is long term, that is a tough way to address, but that is addressing the core problem. So in India there is always a political pressure to focus on short term benefits, because after 5 years you are going to face elections, populist democratic pressures that we have discussed. So these are some of the certain issues before India, or challenges before shifting to simply an outcome based approach in social sector. Now how technology is aiding, you can give a lot examples. Like technology is one of the superpower in the hands of government, which helps in checking corruption. Technology as a check against corruption, like faceless transaction, minimum government, maximum governance. All this vision is based on increasing technological integration, expansion of digital identity systems. Already we have another system which have given digital identity to 1.2 billion population. Expansion of open digital ecosystems like India Stack, artificial intelligence. It is already being used to find dubious financial dealings, to find people who are doing tax evasion. Teleservices like telemedicine, teleeducation, NPTEL, eSanjeevani app. Technology and democracy, like platforms like ADIA. Recently, PIB has came up with a fact check platform. Social media has a reach out during disaster management. For example, the WhatsApp group coordination by district administration during Kerala floods of 2018. So these are some sectors where you can see technology as enabler of welfare delivery systems. So this will be your third part of your answer. 5 points is minimum what I expect. If you write 2-3 more points, that's great. Conclusion going forward, India need to shift. Technology itself is changing. There is a lot of rapid changes that is happening. We need to focus on AI, blockchain, biometric digital identities, and we need to adapt to the technological changes that is happening around the world and integrate this into our systems. Go ahead, go through the third question, then we will have the discussion. Sorry. Yeah. Discuss the role of SEBI in regulating the security markets in India. In light of recent Hindenburg episode, critically evaluate SEBI's effectiveness and accountability in handling allegations of stock manipulation and fraud. So SEBI is obviously having a very tough time due to these Hindenburg episodes. It is directly accusing the SEBI chairman of having these shares in particular funds that is related to the Adani group. We'll see a little bit more detail. So what will be the structure of this particular answer? Introduction, you can write something about SEBI. Major part of the answer, the first part of the question, that is role of SEBI is being asked. So you can write about role of SEBI. Again, I'm expecting 5 points minimum. Second part of the answer is an analysis, that is critically evaluate in SEBI's response to these kind of allegations. So here you can write something about the allegations before directly going into this analysis. You can give a 1 or 2 line about the allegations. Then arguments challenging SEBI's effectiveness and accountability, arguments in support of SEBI. Here 5 points, here 5 points. Then a conclusion 2 line and introduction of 2-3 lines. That is the whole answer about. So about SEBI, you can write the introduction. SEBI, what it is, it's a statutory regulatory body established by Government of India in 1992, basically to oversee and regulate securities and commodity functions. Now, what are the major roles of SEBI? Regulatory role, that is ensuring fair and transparent practices in securities market. Investor interest protection, that is investor should not be subjected to cheating or manipulation, fraud, or this kind of activities. Checking malpractices like insider trading. You have seen a lot of mutual fund groups, including this small quant group, all has been, the raids has been going on recently in these groups. So that is accusations of insider trading, and this is done by SEBI. Disciplinary enforcement responsibilities, investigation certain cases. After the first Hindenburg case against Adani group, that is being investigated by SEBI. So they have investigative powers also related to this. Then you have this developmental role, that is expanding the market, that is managing the technology. Earlier it was quite difficult to invest in share market. Today, out of these different technology, again apps, technology as an enabler, it becomes quite easy for accessible for common man to invest in shares. So this regulation is also done by SEBI, and development of new products like ETFs, gold ETFs or REITs, all these funds have SEBI as a regulator, and SEBI as a market expansion role. The development role is also a part of SEBI. So these are different role of SEBI. Secondly, you can write a little bit of about this recent allegation against SEBI chief Madhabi Puri Buch, stem from a report by Hindenburg Research, which claims that she and her husband Daval Bush has stakes in offshore funds related to Vinod Adani, raising concerns about potential conflict of interest and transparency. And what are certain challenges or concerns raising questions over effectiveness and accountability of SEBI? Conflict of interest allegations, that means SEBI chief itself is having funds related to Adani group. So you would directly see a conflict of interest. Again, delayed investigations. The previous investigation, what was the Supreme Court verdict? Supreme Court said that the SEBI is already doing a comprehensive investigation into allegations by Hindenburg against Adani group. That's why Supreme Court withheld itself from coming up with another investigative team. So SEBI, what Hindenburg accuses now is this earlier investigation has been delayed. Why it has been delayed? To protect the interest of the current SEBI chief. So there is so much of interplay that is happening. Perceived protectionism, that is the interference. Yeah, that is taking no actions even after finding some malpractices. Inadequate disciplinary actions, questionable jurisdiction claims. One major claim that SEBI put forward is a lot of this funds and transaction is that is happening out of India, especially in some this Virgin Islands, Panama Islands, all these countries were considered as safe havens. So there has been some questions raised over jurisdictional power. So all this has been questioned by Hindenburg or of post Hindenburg second episode. All these accusations against B has been questioned from different walks of the society. What SEBI is putting forward in defense, comprehensive investigation has been already being done. Almost 23 inquiry has been done into the Adani group, which is quite a comprehensive list of investigations. Established regulatory framework, we SEBI's regulatory system, that is not something that is evolving, that already has evolved and have a set balance. So this is not we already have a strong regulatory framework. Reporting and rescue. The SEBI chief and as well as her husband from the first day has denied that they have reported all their claims, all their holdings to the SEBI before taking XYZ post. So that is how they are handling this particular case. And there is no question of legal complaints, and whatever is the investigation that is done by SEBI, there has been judicial oversight because people were running to Supreme Court to file cases against this. So these are some of the arguments in defense of SEBI. But in conclusion, you can conclude by saying that despite SEBI putting enough data or whatever it is, what is more important here is to uphold public trust in the institution and uphold principles of transparency and accountability. So it is not just about doing the justice, it is also people should have a sense of justice being done. So SEBI has to be more proactive. SEBI has to clear the clout over its effectiveness or its accountability, and this is also a responsibility of SEBI to come out of these allegations that is raised against itself. Go to the fourth question. Yeah. What are the challenges faced by women in male-dominated fields such as sports and cinema? What measures can be implemented to support empower women in these industries? Again, what is the structure? You can give a introduction connecting recent developments. In sports, there is concern with Wrestling Federation of India and the woman accusations against this earlier chief of Wrestling Federation of India, sexual allegations. All this has been in news. The Olympians, including Sakshi Malik, protesting against this. So this is one part of recent developments. Another from cinema, if you look in Kerala, Malayalam movies, you can see the Hema committee report that has been recently published, and there is a lot of hue cry. There is a lot of Me Too like allegations done against a lot of prominent actors. So these are two recent developments. This is the context of this particular question. So you can give this context and start your answer. Now body, very easy, is the two different dimensions is being asked. First part will be challenges, but divide it into, in sports, what are the challenges? In say cinema, what are the challenges? After that, measures is being asked, or another way forward is being asked. Split it into sports and cinema, then a conclusion. This should be the structure of the answer you should follow. Okay, this is exactly being given here. Like, we have an introduction citing recent developments, then challenges, you can write separately, movies and cinema, then measures, and then conclusion. So recent developments like Indian wrestlers, especially women wrestlers, against WFI chief Brij Bhushan and Hema committee's revelations on harassment in Malayalam film industry. All this has been in news. You can cite these recent developments and write about what exactly is the context of this particular question. Now challenges, what is challenges? Like gender discrimination, lack of representation, harassment and abuse, stereotyping and biasing, limited media coverage, especially women IPLs or women sports matches are getting very less viewership. All these are different issues, gender specific issues in sports. On the other hand, in cinema, you can directly cite some of the examples or some of the developments related to Hema committee report, sexual harassment and exploitation like casting couch, pay parity, pay disparity between male and female actors, unsafe working conditions, fear of retaliation, cyber harassment. These are all like cyberbullying against actors or cyberbullying against somebody who is coming up with this allegation, Me Too allegations against certain actors. All these are different issues faced by people in cinema. Way forward, equal pay in sports, equal pay. Like in 2022, BCCI has made the statement that for cricket there will be equal pay, equal match fee will be paid for men and women cricketers in India. Different other cricket boards, including Cricket Australia, has taken this decision. So this is a positive movement, and this should be expanded to other sports. Women in leadership position, we already see like PT Usha as the head of Indian Olympic Association. We need more women at different levels of leadership, from lower levels to the highest level. We need, like, we have this cadre based sports management system. Like for civil services, we need some things like a cadre for sports development also, and these sports athletes or retired athletes can be made the head of these, or can be made in leadership position for development of sports in at grassroots levels. Effective grievance redressal mechanism, boosting media coverage and sponsorship, grassroots level talent development system. For example, this football, we have huge potential for football in West Bengal as well as in Kerala, but we don't have this adequate infrastructure to make use of these grassroots level talents. So we need systems to like engage these talents and equip these talents to come up from these levels and play at much more competitive levels. We need more competitions, as well as we need systems to pick these individuals from grassroots level and make them like competitive at the highest levels. Similarly, in cinema, we need gender pay and opportunities. We need safe working conditions, strong anti-harassment measures. We need legal systems for protection of women in cinemas. We need empowerment. We need challenging stereotypes. We need a basic pay mandate. We need policies related to equal pay. Similarly, in conclusion, you can cite articles 14 to 21 and you can write this conclusion. Going ahead, this is the fifth question. Go through the question and then we will continue the discussion. Again, another question that is related to sports, somehow directly related to sports. Evaluate the effectiveness of target Olympic podium scheme in enhancing India's performance in the Olympics, Paris Olympics 2024. What additional measures can be implemented to support Indian athletes in their quest for Olympic success? So introduction, direct introduction, that will be about this top scheme. Then you have been asked to evaluate. You need to present some analysis. That means achievements as well as limitations of this particular scheme. Then the second part of the question, that is measures. Measures, and then by conclusion, this will be the structure of the answer. Very easy. What is top scheme? It has been launched in 2014 to provide financial and training support to elite athletes with the aim of enhancing their performance and increasing India's chances of winning medals at Olympics and Paralympic Games. So basically the objective is to support elite athletes. It is not a scheme to develop grassroots level athletes. It is a scheme that is specifically focusing on giving financial and other support system to the top level athletes. Now, what are the achievements? Major medal successes, major events. You can cite Olympics, you can cite Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, all these. You can cite a revival of hockey. There is shooting excellence. Almost every Olympics, India is getting some medal from shooting. This has been attributed to development of shooting infrastructure in different parts of the country. Success in athletics, you can see Neeraj Chopra, who was a beneficiary of this particular scheme, and he is continuously delivering medals in last two Olympics. Expansion and inclusion of junior athletics, that means this scheme is already taking junior athletes also into its ambit. It's a very positive development. Mission Olympics health, that means so specific grievances that is related to certain sports, related to funding issues. This to tackle these issues of premium athletes, this specific cell has been formulated, and it is one of another positive achievements of this particular scheme. What are limitations? Restrictive eligibility criteria, that mostly you become eligible only when you gain the Olympic qualification, and this becomes highly restrictive, especially for those athletes who gain this qualification at very later stages. So they're not going to get the benefit of this particular scheme at an earlier age. Low monthly stipends. Monthly stipend of 50,000 for a premium athlete, that is quite very low. That is huge funding gap you can see. Inadequate infrastructure and training facility, including Neeraj Chopra. Most of our premium athletes, they are training outside India. They are training in developed countries. Why? Because these countries have better infrastructure and training facilities, which India is still lacking. Issues with sports federation, like the issues with Wrestling Federation of India. Similarly, inconsistent government support. State governments, for example, Odisha state government has been prominent in supporting this hockey team. But a lot of other states are not that much positive about development of sports. Lack of integrated approach. That means this program is only about premium athletes. If you really want to improve your performance at Olympics or these global stages, you need to go beyond these premium athletes, and you need to look at grassroots level development systems. And until unless these systems are not developed, there is no way you can gain medals like other countries like Australia or China. A narrow vision, again the vision is getting more Olympics medals. The vision is not developing the systems that is required for gaining more medals. So we need to focus on this is the root cause why India is not getting any medals, and not any medals, India is getting very low number of medals. So this is need to be addressed, and this is like a top scheme is like a, you can say, pudding at the top of the cake. It is not addressing the core part of the problem. What are the measures required? We need grassroots level development. We need a more infrastructure. We need integration of sports in education. New educational policy, it should integrate sports into this curriculum. Collegiate system, like Stanford University has won more than 25 goals. Harvard has more around 15 goals in this Paris Olympics. You can see how much level these universities are performing. Which IITs in India has promoted sports. Even our selection system as well as our approach is highly one-dimensional for premium institutes. This also requires a change. Empowering athletes, sports teacher training, sports cadre, these all need to be developed. So this is some of the way forward, and in conclusion, you can cite the classic example of Chinese revival in Olympics. How within 2-3 decades or 3-4 decades, 3 decades, they have completely transformed. From I think 84 Olympics, they have gained very minimal medals. From there, in 2008, they has been the champion. The Beijing Olympics 2008, they have been the champions of this particular Olympics. So this journey has how facilitated by focusing on systems and working at the grassroots level. This is what India also has to adopt, and India has to more focus on addressing the core problems rather than bringing up a, you can say, peripheral schemes. This is the last question for the day. Go through the question, then we will answer it. Yeah. What is the question? Discuss the technical challenges faced by Boeing Starliner aircraft that have led to the delay in return of astronauts from International Space Station. What are the implications of such delays? Again, it is very difficult questions. Again, in science and technology, we have seen such very specific questions. Introduction, what happened to these astronauts, why they are stuck. Now, body, the major part is what are the technical challenges is being asked. Technical challenges, if you know, you know. If you don't know, it is difficult to guess. You should be knowing, you at least if you are going through the newspapers, you will be easily aware of this. Third part, what are the implications of such delays? This is some kind of an analytical part, and even though you don't know exact implications, you can still extrapolate this. Then you can write a conclusion and finish your answers. What happens to astronauts? Who are these astronauts? Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, who has been on International Space Station since June 5 due to technical issues with this particular Boeing Starliner spacecraft, and may remain there until February 2025 as NASA considers using SpaceX Crew Dragon for their return. So they cannot return. It was a very short mission of few days and they were supposed to come back. But due to what happened is this Starliner, Boeing Starliner spacecraft, which took them there, has been subjected to some technical issues and they cannot come back in this spacecraft. Now the only slot available is in this February 2025 when the SpaceX Crew Dragon will go to this ISS and bring back this astronaut. So this is whole XYZ system that is being available. What is the technical challenges? Again, you don't need to overwrite. You just need to write what is the technical issue. One major issue is the helium leaks from the propulsion system. Then there is thruster malfunctions and there is overheating issues. These are the three major issues why these astronauts are stuck at space. Second part of the answer, that is implications, that is being asked. Health risk is there, that is losing muscle and bone mass, fluid imbalances, heightened radiation risk, psychological impacts like stress, anxiety, feeling of isolation, feeling of like exaggerated anxieties, resource management challenges, right? For how long there will be food, water, medical supplies. The supplies spacecraft may have to be like planned in a much regular basis. It cannot wait till February 2025. Operational and mission planning issues, that is future ISS is not just about NASA, it's about collaborative work of other institutions also. So the whole institutions projects, a lot of other projects will be delayed due to this. Technical and financial repercussions, NASA is already planning about commercial crew programs. Space tourism vision is taking into like coming into prominence. All this there will be delays, there will be setbacks on this. Impact on certain scientific researches on microgravity which has been planned in this ISS will also be delayed. Impact on international collaboration. The time calls for these other, which other countries can bring them back is one is Russia, one is US, NASA, or the space private agencies like SpaceX. So they should come together and pave way for the nearest date for the return, safe return of these astronauts. So in conclusion, you can write India is also planning something of a manned mission like the Gaganyaan mission. So what happened to these astronauts or what is happening right now is a learning for India. India also should learn from this and should come up with a comprehensive testing and contingency plans in case of these kind of happenings, technical challenges that came up in between the mission. So this is the whole structure of the last answer. So I hope you have gained out of these sessions. Our major focus has been on how to understand the structuring, proper structuring of the answer, how to understand where you should write more points to get more marks. Don't make a mistake on the structuring. Keep revising till the mains and you will come up with flying colors. That's all for now. Thank you so much and all the best.